Hi, thank you for joining me on this video blog. I was reading the other day about the moment when electricity first came to the Midlands in England. Evidently there were farmers there who, even though electricity was freely available, they wouldn't put power lines up on their property. But what intrigued me most was the story of an old lady who evidently her bill for electricity every month was very little. So the local municipality went around just to have a checkout, and she said, "No man, electricity is wonderful. When it gets dark at night, I switch on the lights and then I find my matches and then I light my candles and then I switch the electricity off again." And I've been thinking about that old lady. There's a sense in which the electricity of God's presence is with us every moment of the day. Some of us don't even put up our power lines. Some of us are like that old lady. We use a little bit of God's presence to get us going, but then we disconnect again. So what I thought we could do in this video blog is just explore ways in which we can stay connected, ways in which we can keep the power lines up so that the electricity of God's presence and God's activity can flow constantly into our lives and through our lives and touch the lives of other people. And I've got a few tips for you that I find very helpful. I find it very helpful throughout the day to just constantly direct my mind towards God. I know a guy who runs a business quite close to the church here where I work. He on his watch he has a facility that kind of goes beep every hour, and it just reminds him that, hey, God is present. I wonder if there's a way in which you can remind yourself constantly through the day of God's nearness and of God's presence. But let me give you another tip. I find it very helpful just to remain constantly thankful, just to say thank you to God a lot. I was taught this by a wonderful woman. She was an air hostess with South African Airlines, and she died of leukemia, and I used to visit her a lot before she died. And one day I went to go see her. It was a winter's day. It was about 6 o'clock in the evening, and she made me some coffee and some hot cross buns. I can still smell those hot cross buns, but I'll never forget when she brought them to me. She said these words. She said, "You know, Trevor, when you go through what I'm going through right now, you become very thankful for small things like coffee and hot cross buns." I've never forgotten Jill. And she reminds me to remain constantly thankful, because when I remain constantly thankful, I keep the power lines up. I keep the connection going with God. And that's what Paul says. He says, give thanks in all circumstances, not for everything, but in all circumstances. I think the last tip that I can share with you that I find helpful is that whenever I start a new activity through the day, new appointment, new speaking engagement, even when I started doing this video blog, I'll always just whisper a little prayer that God will be with me in this new activity. So can I encourage you, whenever you start something new during the day, whenever there's a change of activity, invite God in. Friends, the electricity of God's presence is all around us, every moment of the day. We need to keep those power lines up, and we need to stay connected. And I hope I've passed on a few tips that will help you to do that. God bless.